Manchester City late last night did finally table a formal bid. That has this morning been rejected, we understand, by West Ham. It basically matched Arsenal's price tag of £90 million, slightly different in the way the deal was portrayed. It would be £80 million up front, rising to 90 with add-ons. I think the payment terms would be over a shorter period of time than what Arsenal are offering. But crucially, Jim, it still doesn't get anywhere near that magic figure that you've been given by Mr. Sullivan of at least £100 million. I maintain what I said yesterday. Arsenal remain Declan Rice's preferred destination. So really, the ball is in Arsenal's court now to come in and make an offer that gets somewhere near the magic number that West Ham are looking for.
So, Simon's listening intently to you. Whether he likes it or not, should Sullivan be pessimistic privately that he's going to get anywhere close to 120 plus add-ons?
I think it should be realistic. I mean, a deal is going to happen. You're already in the upper echelons of where I think the player's really worth. And if Sullivan thinks he's going to get 120 million quid, well, the only way he's going to get that is if Manchester City and Arsenal are prepared to duke it out and try and outbid one another. It's very interesting they've both got into a situation where they've both offered the exact same amount of money.
Yeah.
So that puts West Ham in a slightly cleft position because the payment terms, that's easily resolvable. If West Ham want it quicker, they can just discount it and ask Arsenal to pay the discounting costs if they want to have it on the drip. So we can all solve the payment problems. But it's interesting and I think quite refreshing that they're going to both sit there and go, it's 90 million quid, choose your football club.
Okay, Alex, in a moment we'll talk about the possibility or otherwise of James Maddison heading to Tottenham. On the subject of Tottenham, David Ornstein of The Athletic is just reporting that Bayern Munich have submitted a formal offer for Tottenham striker Harry Kane. Bayern's opening bid for the England captain is €70 million plus add-ons. So that's the start of it, you would think, Alex. What's your take on that?
Well, this is fascinating because the noises coming out of Germany last night were getting louder that maybe Harry Kane is now Bayern Munich's top target. I believe that Victor Osimhen of Napoli is also on their shortlist, but at the moment they are focusing their attentions on Harry Kane. We've been pretty steadfast on this. Simon and I singing from the same hymn sheet. Daniel Levy ideally doesn't want to sell Harry Kane this summer. He certainly doesn't want to sell him to a Premier League rival. That's why Manchester United have called their interest. That's why Chelsea at the moment aren't testing the water. Bayern Munich and this offer for a player with only 1 year left on his contract, Simon, I think this is going to be a real test of Daniel Levy's resolve. It's going to be fascinating to see if Harry Kane pushes for this move to the Bundesliga. It will give him that opportunity to go and win silverware, but it will take away the chance to become the Premier League's all-time record goal scorer. What do we think, Simon?
I think 60 million quid starts the conversation, doesn't it? Because you've got a year to go. Unless they're going to get Harry to sign a new deal with them, which I can't see Daniel letting this go to being a free transfer next year. So one of two things has to happen. He has to sell him or he has to get him to sign a new contract. And I'm down the middle with it. But Bayern Munich, I think if Bayern Munich were to get up to 80 million quid, which if you're at 60, I know 20 million is 20 million, but if you get to 80 in principle with 70 with something with 10 with achievables, I think you'd really test the resolve of Daniel Levy. Again, it comes down to Postecoglou. I think Postecoglou might be moderately relaxed if he's going to get a proportion of that money, or if not all of it, back into investing, because maybe, with all due respect to Harry, as brilliant a player as he is, he may not play the way that Postecoglou wants Tottenham to play.
That's a point. So Ornstein at The Athletic is saying Bayern Munich has submitted a formal offer for Kane. Their opening bid for him, €70 million plus add-ons. What kind of add-ons do you talk about there, Simon? In the neighbourhood of what?
Winning the league, Champions League credentials. It won't be individual performance. I mean, it might be goals from a certain amount of appearances that he makes for Bayern Munich, so ultimately they get a kicker in that respect. The fascinating part of this equation will be, does Harry Kane want to go and play in Germany at this stage in his career? Does he want to uproot a young family and all that goes with that and go and play in Germany? It's one thing considering going to play in Spain and playing for Madrid or Barcelona. It's another thing going to play in Germany for Bayern Munich. I don't know. I'm not sure about it.
I mean, Alex, when he's weighing it up, does it come down to, well, where am I most likely to win a trophy? At Tottenham under Ange or at Bayern Munich under Tuchel?
Well, I think we all know the answer to that question.
Absolutely.
Bayern Munich pretty much guaranteed to win the Bundesliga. Even this season, Borussia Dortmund did their best to hand it to Bayern on a plate when they were really favourites. I think what's interesting, there's been a lot of talk about players going to Bayern Munich this summer. Declan Rice, of course, one. Mason Mount, another. What they haven't done is go as far as make a formal bid. Now, Simon will know it's unusual for an offer, certainly an offer of this size, to be made without a certain amount of encouragement from the players' camp. So that would suggest to me that maybe Harry Kane is actively considering the option of a move to Germany.
Okay. In the time we have left, and I know Mrs. Crook is urging us to get on with it so you can return to poolside over in Portugal. James Maddison, is he really edging ever closer to a move that will take him to Tottenham?
Yeah, I think he is, Jim. It's been reported in some quarters over the last couple of weeks that Newcastle were leading the charge. I never really bought into that. I think the fee that Leicester were asking for was too rich for Newcastle in terms of what they wanted to pay. I'm not entirely convinced that Eddie Howe really knew where he wanted James Maddison to fit into his plans. We know from a personal point of view, Maddison was keen on a move to London. Postecoglou has made him a priority target. And I think what's interesting about this one now, a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about it, when I was at the Champions League final in Istanbul, Leicester were looking for in excess of £60 million. I think given that Newcastle are unlikely now to make a formal bid, they're going to have to reduce that asking price. And this is where Daniel Levy comes into his own and gets around the bargaining table and probably offers a deal worth around £40 million with add-ons.
You're agreeing, Simon?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I would have said it was a £40 million transfer.
How do you think Daniel Levy is in all of this at the moment, Simon? There's Bayern Munich want Kane. He wants Maddison. He might want this and he might want that. There's a lot to think of, to contemplate here.
Yeah, I mean, irritated in some respects.
Without a sporting director.
Irritated in some respects, motivated in another. Wanting to have a break from another side of things, I suspect. But listen, Postecoglou and his desires to build a side will be at the forefront of Daniel's mind, I suspect. And if Maddison is a deal they can do at a reasonable level, I'm sure they'll do it. The Harry Kane one is the one that I think will cause them slightly more concerns about how they do this deal and what it looks like, because they're in a situation where they can't just allow it to drift.
No,
because it'll leave an outcome that even Daniel won't want, which is that there's no transfer fee at the end of it. It's not in his DNA. That's not going to happen. That's not where he operates. Yeah.
We see here that AC Milan have agreed a deal in principle to sign Loftus-Cheek from Chelsea, $18.5 million, Alex. Have you, to finish with, have you got some news in Southampton? Livramento.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of Southampton players who are sought after this summer. Tino Livramento certainly one. Genuine interest from Newcastle. Talks between the two clubs have taken place, but at the moment, I'm told they're way apart in terms of a fee. This is a very talented young player, someone who may well end up being England's first choice right back down the line, but he's missed the best part of a year through injury. Southampton are talking well in excess of £30 million. Again, Newcastle, we know they want to cut their cloth accordingly this summer. They're not going to pay that. Brighton waiting in the wings as well. What's interesting about this one, Dan Ashworth has been tracking Livramento since he was a very young player, first bursting onto the scene. So, as I say, the interest is genuine, but Southampton are going to have to lower their asking price, not just for him. My understanding is that everybody who's making approaches for Southampton players have been shocked by the numbers that they're being touted. 50 million plus for James Ward-Prowse, 30 million for Kyle Walker-Peters. This is a team just relegated to the Championship, remember.